Welcome to another episode of Let's Get Fiscal, a chance for Charles County government to help inform our great community about all things related to budget and finance here in Charles County government. I'm Doria Fleischer, your Community Engagement Coordinator, and joining us again here today, Jake Dyer, our Chief of Budget. Thanks so much for being here, Jake.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Jake, I want to kind of make a joke here. Let's see if I can do this. If I was going to say the name is Bond, James Bond, but instead I said the name is Sale, bond sale, tell us about the bond sale. I want to know everything about bonds today. This is the big topic, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about bonds and bond ratings and the bond process and all of that. Mm-hmm. Let's get started.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so what is a bond rating and how do we get it?
Sure.
What does that mean for Charles County?
Yeah, so a bond rating is essentially trying to get your credit score. So like when you have to get a credit score when you go to buy a house or finance a car and so forth, you have to do a credit score, and you typically reach out. There's a couple of those credit ratings that give you your credit rating, and you give it to the bank that's going to give you the loan. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We are asking for a rating score of Charles County through 3 bond rating agencies that score you. They are Moody's, Fitch, and Standard & Poor's.
Okay.
And they essentially rate you on numerous aspects of Charles County, one of them being the financials, of course. They want to make sure the county has good, sound financials information to make sure we're not, or we have a good, healthy fund balance. We are spending our monies as budgeted. The revenues are growing at the paces that we are projecting them to be. But it's just more, it's a little bit more than the financial structure. They also review the management side of the county, and it also looks at the economic development of the county, what the future holds, what's happening in the county through a commercial and residential type of growth.
So where my credit score, when I just single individual go and say, like, I want to buy a car and I need a loan. My credit score is just about, like, am I going to pay this bill back, right?
Yes.
But when we talk about the bond rating, it's not just, am I going to pay this bill back? It's, am I a financially healthy, well-run organization? Is that a good way to say that?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So what's the process of going through this? How do we do this? And we do this annually. Yes, this happens every year?
Yes, this happens every year. We assume we do this every year as part of our capital improvement program, CIP, that gets adopted by the commissioners in the annual process. And these bonds, they're the ones they are what is paying for the schools, the water and sewer infrastructure, the any road expansion or any building improvements, preservations, and so forth. These bonds are eventually paying for these costs, and then we pay those bonds back over anywhere between 10, 15, 20, or 30-year increments. It depends on the life of the actual project.
Of the project. So we're saying we're going to pay this good bill back, give us some money so that we can do the really big stuff. Not something that's going to last 1 year, but these are the things that are the really big kind of big ticket items. Okay,
correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the whole process, so the first step is getting the CIP approved to do a project. So that's the very first process. Then once the budget gets approved, starting over the summer, we start working on the process of getting our bond presentation and what is the size of the bond will be. So because
we need to know if we're building a this or a that, right? So how much money are we looking for? Is that an accurate way to say it?
Yeah, so the first step that we do is figure out what the size of the bond is. Okay. So we have to reach out to all our project managers, and we actually essentially are asking, what is your spending projections over the next 2 years? Because one of the caveats of this bond is that you get the loan, but you have to spend those bonds within 2 years.
Okay, so they can't just sit and grow.
They cannot just sit and grow in your bank account and get and accumulate interest. You have to spend it within 2 years. So we track that on as a separate process out of today's conversation. So the first step is figuring out what is our size of their bonds. Then the next step is we start reaching out to our departments and agencies on information that goes in this document called the official statement. Okay. The official statement is an official statement that goes to the credit rating agencies that they review, and that shows a lot of financial information as well as economic development growth and anything related to management practices and any things right there that would sell potential bonds to why they want to invest in Charles County.
So kind of like again, to use that individual example, the correlation. If I wanted to buy a car, I'm saying, I want this kind of a car and this is why I want it and I can afford it. And this is how I'm going to tell you that I'm going to be able to pay that back. And I'm kind of justifying the money that I'm asking the loan for, right? So for each of these projects, we're justifying why we need that money and that we're going to take good care of it.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha.
So we put that document together. Next, we're also working at the same time, we're working on a presentation that we would do to these rating agencies for each one. So that presentation, we're essentially doing a lot of work with economic development. It's a big effort between the county administrator's office, the economic development department, as well as fiscal administrative services. We put together a pretty comprehensive presentation together, and then we put it in a document with the assistance with media. They help us put the document together.
Okay.
So we have a series of meetings throughout the summer and early fall, and we're meeting with economic development, but we also are meeting with our financial advisors. We have a financial advisor that assists us through this entire process. It's called Davenport and Company. They assist us, and we lean on their guidance throughout the process because they do this for a living. They do other counties, so they know what the rating agencies are looking for in the presentation, which has evolved throughout time because the rating agencies are now focused on new topics. So we have to make sure the presentation covers those new topics. Like for the last couple of years, we've been more focused, showing more of an emphasis on what the county is doing with climate change.
Which makes sense because that's a more relevant topic right now.
More relevant topic. They want to, the bond rating agencies want to know what we're doing for any climate change actions to make sure, the county is prepared for the future of how the climate is changing.
That makes sense. Okay.
And they're also focused on cybersecurity, different topics every so often. They tell us what they're looking for, and we make sure the presentation has a focus on that.
So in essence, they're kind of helping you perfect your pitch. You're saying, this is what we're building in Charles County. This is what we need the money for. And they're saying, right now the bank really wants to hear you talk about this. Make sure you add in that. They're just advising on it. Okay, great.
Yeah, so we do a series of meetings, and then eventually we get the presentation together. And that's usually 1st of October when the presentation is done. So there's several chapters of our presentation. The first part focuses on the management side of Charles County, which would include the climate change and so forth. The next topic includes the economic development piece, and that's really showing to the bond rating agencies what is the county doing into the future, what kind of development is happening in Charles County over the next several years. And then from there, once we get past the economic development part of the presentation, which is a large part of the presentation, then we start focusing on the financial side.
Okay.
The first part of that presentation is more of what happened in the prior fiscal year.
Okay.
And that's showing what the county spent there, how much revenue came in, how much expenses were in, where we spent those expenses, and so forth. And then after we get past what happened in the last fiscal year, then we talk about what's going on in the budget for the current year we're in now.
Okay.
And then from there, we close the presentation. This year, I do want to add that I actually, in this year's presentation, I know I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, you're good. You're good.
We actually talked about let's get fiscal to them.
Because it shows that...
It shows that we are trying to do engaging the community more on what things are going on in Charles County.
So again, it's perfecting the pitch, right? Like, look at us, Charles County government. We're going to be good with this because we're going to get. I love it. Well, so if Charles County government gets a good bond rating, it's because of Let's Get Fiscal, is what I heard you just say.
Yeah, essentially, because I even made sure there was a QR code so they could find it, and I made that QR code bigger than other QR codes, so they could not miss it. And they all seem pretty excited about watching these episodes.
That makes me really happy. We'll have to check to see if viewership goes up after the bond presentation.
One lady, one of the rating agencies did warn me that if we wanted to see where it was being watched, for some reason their company does not allow them to show that it's coming from New York. It would be in a different state.
Well, I'm going to keep an eye. I want to see if our ratings go up from this presentation. Thanks for giving the shout out, Jake. That's great. Okay, so we do the presentation.
Yes.
And then
we get the documents together. Then we do an actual presentation to the three agencies. Right. This year it included an actual trip to New York City, where we went up to New York on the Tuesday, I think October 10th, and we stayed up there until Thursday morning. First day we drive up there. When I say drive, we're literally in a van driving. We have a transportation that gets us here at the county government building, and we jump in a van, and it takes us all the way into our hotel in New York City.
So this is a bit of a sore subject because when you say we,
yes,
it was not me. I had wanted to go, and there is standard operating procedure that I can't. So Jake, who did go to New York? If it was not me, who was it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this year, this trip included our Commissioner President Collins. Every trip has always included a commissioner. Since this is my 5th time doing the rating presentation, and it's always included the commissioner president. So Commissioner Collins took this trip, and then it included our acting county administrator, which is Deborah Hall. Then it included our acting deputy county administrator, Jenny Allen. Then it included me into the president.
Awesome. All right, so you go to New York.
We go to New York.
You do the presentation. What happens next?
So once the presentation concludes, they typically over the next week or two, each rating agency will send us questions that they might, like any follow-up questions that they did not ask us in the presentation. We typically try to answer them as soon as we can.
Right.
We don't just set it aside, and because we know there's some deadlines they're meeting. Because what this rating agent presentation is, you're really sitting at a table kind of like you and I are right now, and you're just talking to 2 analysts, and then they're taking the information and going back to their superiors that actually do the final call.
I'm laughing because I'm picturing that, I keep using the example of buying a car, but I'm picturing that awful experience where you're sitting there talking to the salesman. He's like, let me get these numbers back to my manager. Let me see if I can cut you a deal. So you guys are giving all this information, knowing that those analysts are just going to take it away and have to do more math, more analyzing. Right. Yeah.
And the funny part is when I'm sure, as you're aware, I've been with the county for a while. And when I first started with the county, I always envisioned this trip being different than what it actually is. When I always was envisioned, it was kind of like I was Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and I was trying to go home. Okay. And I would sit there, and it would just be this guy like trying to talk to me. And then you realize it's just someone behind the curtain.
Right.
And that's kind of what it is. It's just someone like you and me that's sitting there just asking us questions.
Gotcha.
And then taking it back to
getting the magic answer.
To getting the magic answer. So that was surprising. I went up there all, oh my God, I'm gonna be talking to the wizard here.
Right, and it's just talking to somebody in finance.
Yeah, it's like I'm talking to you right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we do the ratings. They do some follow-up questions, and then within a time period, they actually give us our final rating. So I'm proud to say that we just got our final rating yesterday, and we continued for the 7th straight year a AAA bond rating, which is really the highest rating any county or city can receive anywhere. So we've gotten the AAA rating, which really what the AAA rating means is that the bank that is going to go out and put a bid on the bond will know that we're not as risky as other counties.
Right.
So when there's less risk involved, that just means that's a better interest rate that they will be charging the county that the county would have to pay for this when we pay these payments back once the bond issue occurs.
It makes sense. So this is a really the work that you put into this presentation, the work you put into these documents, and the work you put into doing this really does have an effect on how much money we get and the interest rate we pay. Like our tax dollars do better when this goes well with that rating. Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay. Yeah,
so it kind of means it's kind of like a report card of the county,
but a report card with a bonus, right?
Yes.
You're getting compensated for how well you did because you're getting lower interest rates.
The county's getting compensated.
Yes, the county's getting compensated. Sorry, I should clarify that. Jake is not getting compensated, but the county, this actually really helps us financially. So along with the pat on the back of AAA, it really is makes us appealing. Yeah,
because what that means is if the interest rate is better, that just means there's more money that we have to do more or other things. It saves the county money in the long run.
That's perfect. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So where are we in the process? What happens now?
So we're currently, so we got the AAA rating, so we're good with that. So now we're just waiting for, on November 14th, we actually do the actual bond sale. So it's a competitive bid. Hopefully multiple banks will bid on Charles County on this bond issue. And then once we receive the bids, we'll work with with Davenport as well as our bond counsel on the actual bid selection. And at the same day, we'll go, and this is all done once we receive the bids. We'll receive the bids with the commissioners in open session, then we get the bids, then we go back to the commissioners, and it's a formal approval of the selected bid holder.
So anybody who wants to tunes in and sees what's going on. This is open for people to see.
Yes, and then we select the bid, and then over the next couple of weeks, we get the documents to go to close. Kind of like once you get the loan with the house, you still have to go through a process to close on the house. So there's just some lots of documents that we'll have to sign, and then we should be closing the bonds in either end of November or beginning of December. It all depends on the Thanksgiving holiday.
And where it falls,
Where it falls, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool process.
Yeah.
And I appreciate knowing kind of all the pieces that go into it that require the collaboration of the department. So economic development, helping, and fiscal and admin services, but then also culminating in this, like you kind of, and I mean this in the good way, get to show Charles County off. We're showing that we're doing good work. Yeah.
Yeah. I find it exciting to go up there and like pitch Charles County on how all the things that we're doing. It actually like it's refreshing. It kind of pumps you up when you, because there's a lot of work involved. And when you do these presentations, you get pretty pumped up about what we're doing here in Charles County, how we're trying to make it better, and the growth that we're kind of hoping to see to the county, and what we're going to spend the monies on. Because at least when I've been doing it, we've been getting positive feedback.
That's great.
From them. So it makes it sound like, at least from the financial side, we're in the economic, we're doing the right thing.
And you're not just patting yourself on the back. You're having somebody who has no vote in Charles County say whether it looks like we're doing a good job, which is nice. That nice unbiased view. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you went.
Yes.
I'm glad that you're home. I hope you got enough big city to kind of fill that excitement, and then also ready to come back to Charles County and keep us growing along and doing well financially. So anything else you want our audience to know about the bond rating?
Just that, it's a process that we take very serious here in Charles County. We're doing our best, and by us showing that us getting the AAA rating, it really shows that the county is in a good foundation for the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jake Dyer, our Chief of Budget, joining us to talk about all things bond related on Let's Get Fiscal.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Let's Get Fiscal. If you want to know some of the things that Jake was mentioning, like capital improvement projects, you can always go back to our other episodes and get some other information. And of course, there'll be more episodes coming. In the meantime, thanks for listening. Take care, stay safe, and stay engaged. For more information on Charles County government, visit our website, www.charlescountymd.gov. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe to the county's e-news. Also, don't forget to sign up for our text and email alerts through the Citizen Notification System. You can watch CCG TV on Comcast Channel 95 or Verizon Fios 10, and we're streaming on Apple TV and Roku devices. Just search Charles County Government. You can also subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts by searching Charles County Government. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel